Listening.
Hello, you are listening to America's Web Radio. This is Locked and Loaded, and I am Roger B. We are here today to talk about guns, about firearms, about weapons. And then we also talk about politics, having to do with guns, weapons, and firearms. And today I have a special guest on who is highly trained and an expert in certain areas to prevent me from going on my amateurish rantings today. Shannon, welcome to Locked and Loaded.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate you asking me to be here.
Well, I just hope you can enlighten some people and let them know that, you don't have to be a guy to have a gun and have fun with it.
Oh, no, you can definitely be a woman and probably we have more fun.
I'm sure you do, because you're not as serious about it. Well, not as serious, but you don't take yourselves as seriously as some guys do.
Exactly. We usually don't let our egos get in the way, and I do find that a lot with men. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool.
I'll exclude you from the group.
No, I expect everybody to, I want to let everybody know that being in the shooting sport is not men only.
Correct.
Now, when you first started, how long ago would you say you got serious about it?
Well, let me just say it was probably back in 2015 where I knew I wanted to get my carry license. Well, actually 2014. And so, I had picked up a few handguns, tried them out, and of course my husband told me, oh, Glock. I love you, Tony. But no, I mean, he did let me go through and try out, and of course at the time I knew nothing. And
so you were starting from scratch.
I was totally starting from scratch. I'd never shot a pistol before in my life. I'd maybe shot, some .22 rifles and a BB gun. That was probably it.
Wow. And this happened in so only for 5 years you've been serious about it.
Yeah, well, and I would say that was back in 2014, and then probably 2015 was when I thought, okay, if I'm going to have a gun in my house, I need to know how to use it. I need to know, everything about being safe with it. I want to feel confident with it. So I just started taking classes, and it just sort of snowballed.
Wow. So you finally really enjoyed it?
Yeah, not only was, did I want to get educated on it and feeling comfortable and feeling safe with it, but then I started to take these classes and realized, wow, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, despite what some liberals say, shooting guns is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and honestly, I have conservative and liberal, both friends that enjoy shooting.
Right. But it's weird because some of the politics of that tend to clash because most liberals tend to be anti-gun. It's almost like they're supposed to be. Yeah. But, if they do it, it's actually fun.
Yeah, and I probably meet that rare group of liberals that are pro-gun.
Yeah, I've got a few friends that are pro-gun, but yet they feel liberal in other respects.
Yeah.
But they're probably going to make a decision when they get to polls to go either way, depending on who defends their rights.
Yeah.
Now, I have one quick question. When you got into it, did you find a lot of prejudice from guys or any kind of attitude from them when you first started? Or most of them not that way?
It was a welcome surprise to find out how encouraging men were, about me coming into the range. I felt so comfortable. And because the funny thing was, at first I felt super intimidated because, it's all guys working at the gun counter, guys working in the range, or whatever. And it's a little bit intimidating. But then again, I felt like, I'm kind of at that age where I really just don't care.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, so for women who want to get into it, you didn't find that you were treated. At all. In fact, they were encouraging. They were polite. Everybody was nice to you. You had no issues with that at all.
Super encouraging. In fact, most of the men, their comment would be, especially when I went into training classes, was it's so much easier to train women than it is men. And that's because usually the men, it's the ego that gets in the way, like, oh, I've been shooting for 20 years.
Right, and they have preconceived notions.
I was born with a rifle in my hands, and so, women.
And those people have to be retaught how to shoot instead of taught from scratch. Yeah, it's always better to work with somebody who doesn't have a lot of bad habits that they have to be talked out of or worked out of them.
Exactly.
And that goes for guys, too. If you're interested in shooting guys, I mean, If guys you're interested in learning to shoot, don't be intimidated. Almost everybody in sport is very encouraging, and they're very friendly and more than willing to help almost anybody out when they're new.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Just ask questions and don't ever assume. Just ask the questions.
Yeah, and most people are more than willing to talk about guns, especially if they're enthusiasts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I know just working at the range, it's when somebody asks me a question, especially the women that come in, and, I'm more than happy to offer them,
right advice.
Yeah.
Now, I guess working at the range, too, you get to work with men and women. And do you find that any of the men are hesitant to ask you for something? Or tend to overlook you?
Yeah, sometimes because, I work at the front desk. I work at Georgia Gun Club over in Buford. Gotta give them
give them a plug. Hello, Georgia Gun Club.
Hello,
Thanks
Georgia
for
Gun Club.
loaning Shannon to us for an hour.
Yeah, I left work 2 hours early. But yes, you're absolutely right. I work at the front desk, and so I sort of, comically say, I'm Barbie at the front desk. But when I do see men and women in there, I'll ask them, is there something I can help you with? And sometimes, the men might be a little hesitant, but, well, I'm looking for a holster. Well, what kind of holster? And I'll go over there and tell them, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, your right hand, left hand,
And then they start looking at you a little different, like, oh, she does seem to know what she's talking about.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Very good. I like the fact that everyone's willing to talk to you too, because a lot of times you figure a lot of guys would just say, "Oh, is there someone around who can help me with this? I can. Is there anybody else?"
Well, yeah, and I would say that's a small majority, but yes, I'll get that occasionally.
Oh,
but usually, most are pretty receptive once they can tell that I do know a little bit and
what you're talking about. Well, you've had I looked over your certifications, and you are highly qualified, which would make me think I could ask you for advice without any doubt, because I have no actual certifications. I'm just an enthusiast.
Well, I know just the instructor for you.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
No, you're a great shooter. I shot with you.
Yes, we have shot together. In fact, we had Harold Lanier on from Creedmoor Training Academy before, and he gave us a rundown.
Yeah.
In fact, he'll probably be back on again, so we had fun with that.
Awesome.
Now, is there anybody who at Georgia Gun Club you recommend? Do you have any classes like for someone who wants to get started or doesn't know? How do you begin? How would you jump in if you just didn't have any experience whatsoever, or anybody in the family who could guide you?
Absolutely. We do have a basic pistol class at Georgia Gun Club taught by, they are NRA certified instructors, but the basic pistol we have, it's not an NRA basic pistol class, which there's, it's...
That's a little more intensive than what this is, probably, right?
It's probably about the same sort of material. It just doesn't have the accreditation, the certificate you would get from NRA.
Now, would this be someone who's never touched a handgun before?
Correct.
Would they jump into this? Okay.
Correct. And usually when people come in and they sign up for the class, or they just, what class do you recommend? I've never shot before, I only shot a handful of times. Or it's been 20 years since I shot and I kind of forgot, some of the basics. And
so it was a refresher course, it would be
yeah,
good.
so I would tell them, take the basic pistol class. It's typically an 8-hour class. Most of it is classroom instruction, very basic, well-rounded, and then part of it you do get to shoot. And for those people that don't own a firearm, I usually encourage them, go ahead and rent one, and rent a few, try out a few. This would be the class to do it in, because you can ask your questions, you can try them out, you can have the instructor actually sit there, watch you, check your grip, check your stance.
On various guns to see if one fits better than another one.
Exactly.
Oh, that would be excellent to get somebody started.
Yeah.
If you're feeling a little intimidated, don't be, because you can go to the Georgia Gun Club if you live in the Atlanta area, and their basic pistol class will get you started. Now, when you rent a gun there's, I guess, that's a fee in addition to the cost of the class?
Correct, unless you're a member. So it's typically $10 to rent the pistol, and you can swap that out as many times as you want to for that $10 charge. You just need to purchase our ammo to go through it, because you're shooting our guns and we want to know what's going through it.
Clean quality ammunition. Okay.
And if you wanted to rent a rifle, that's $15 for the hour.
Now, for the rentals and stuff, how much time do you have in the range once you finish the classroom for the basic pistol class?
You typically have, I want to say, they're usually in there about an hour.
Okay, so it's not terribly long time. But this is just to get you basically get your feet wet and get started.
Yeah, and usually for a beginner, about an hour is all they can take. I mean, there's just so much going through their head. Their muscles are so tense. It's like they're doing isometrics when they're
It's probably a little stressful just starting out.
It is, and for a beginner, they might go through 50 rounds tops. In an hour.
Not a lot.
So, yeah, that's typically what I find.
Now, do they handle any firearms or simulated firearms while they're in the classroom? Do they show them anything or get a hand on anything? And
only inert, fake
right.
pistols. Some are, the orange guns, the blue guns, and some might look a little more like a real pistol.
I'm thinking just to teach people how to grip and things like that. So you get a little bit of that before you step into the range.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. They talk about, your stance, your grip, lining up your sights, getting your sight picture, and then they also talk about the different parts of the firearm: striker fire, hammer fire. This is a revolver. This is a semi-auto.
So they can understand. Yeah, because I've seen people go into the range before never having fired or touched a gun, and they try and teach them everything while they're standing there at the firing line with guns going off on other lanes, and it's got to be intimidating and nerve-wracking to try and do that.
Oh, definitely. And if you're a first-time shooter, don't go to the range Saturday afternoon or Friday night.
Right, ideally.
No, I don't want to scare you away, but
middle of the week, middle of the day.
But if you're looking for one-on-one attention, it's best to go during the slower times during the week, during the mid-afternoon, 2 to 3 o'clock. Today is Ladies' Day, Tuesday.
Hey.
Ladies don't have to pay a lane fee, so you get to shoot for free. And a lot of other clubs will do that. They'll have a Ladies' Day.
Several ranges in the area will do. They'll have special days.
Yeah.
They have Couples Day, Ladies' Day. Because I know a lot of people actually will learn from somebody they know. A family member will try and teach them. And sometimes the family members know what they're doing. Other times they learn bad habits and they try and teach them to somebody. I've had people I was shooting with and they have a ridiculous grip and they're going, "Oh, that's the way my dad taught me," and I'm going,
"Yeah,
that's not correct."
Yeah, that's why you're not hitting the paper.
Yeah, had a guy. He learned, and he puts his arm out there, and then his other arm goes around his wrist, and he holds his wrist with his other hand. Yeah, he was doing one of these.
Oh,
and I thought that's interesting. I think I saw that in a movie from the '60s.
Okay.
So I corrected him.
That's a whole new way of shooting.
Yeah, well, you learn bad habits from people who already have them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to have to take our first break here.
Okay.
So I appreciate everybody listening. We're going to be right back with more from myself and Shannon, and you're listening to America's Web Radio, and this is Locked and Loaded. We'll be right back.
The disease of addiction is a life-altering challenge, not just for the person suffering its effects, but also for the family and friends who support and love the one caught in its grasp. What should be the course of treatment? Who is the best person to render treatment? And what is the best place to go for the care that is needed? We know that you want answers to these and many more questions. Call 770-696-9862 and speak to a representative of the Atlanta Healing Center. They can tailor a program specifically designed to address the needs of the person suffering with an addiction, or give you guidance as to where that help may be found. Information is the key, and the trained staff at AHC is here to assist. If you wish, you can also get more information on the website located at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business practices, and fascinating business professionals to get an insider view of how America works.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there is a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hello, welcome back. This is Locked and Loaded. I am Roger B., and you're listening to America's Web Radio. And today I have my special guest, Shannon, the fully certified, fully trained firearms expert.
Certifiable.
Certifiable, yes. Well, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would say that about anybody who wants to own it or fire a gun.
Yeah, sometimes.
Now, we were talking about training in the range, and you said that the beginning pistol class starts with you with classroom time, so you don't have to get thrown into the range right away with guns going off and bullets firing and you trying to learn what's going on. You actually learn in a quiet environment in a classroom first.
Correct. And you learn with inert or fake guns inside the class.
Replicants.
And so you get more comfortable that way, you know, just holding a gun properly, working on your grip, lining up your sights, etc.
Now, you were saying during the break that you actually teach a class.
Outside of it,
right, outside of the gun range, but independently,
Correct.
You're available for teaching. Now, what kind of class do you instruct, or what kind of class do you teach?
Well, since I'm also a USCCA certified
now,
firearms.
what is USCCA?
United States Concealed Carry Association.
Okay, you guys got that? So if you want to
Yeah.
carry a gun.
Yeah, so if you just look for USCCA online, you'll find all sorts of information about who they are
And what they provide.
But it's very similar to the NRA pistol certification, which I also have that. And but the class that I teach at my house is a 4-hour ladies class. And,
so women only.
It's women only. It's 4 hours of basic pistol training in my home. We do not handle firearms inside my house, but we do handle some inert or fake pistols.
Right.
And then they set up an hour one-on-one with me at the range where I give them their one-on-one
so each
actual
person
firearms training.
So you get one-on-one instruction with you for this 4-hour course. So that would be a 5-hour course in total?
In total, yes.
Okay.
Yes, but it's pretty easy for people to be able to set up, 4 hours of their day versus 8 hours. And so this just works out well. And then plus the women, that might feel a little bit intimidated, don't, because I do this in my living room. I set up a PowerPoint on my big screen TV. We sit on the couch. We talk about it, ask questions. So nobody feels like they're asking,
And they can handle these inert weapons to kind of get a feel for them, and you can instruct on grip and sight picture and all that without any danger.
Exactly.
That sounds great. So and this is something, if you want to get started, you can probably look this up, USCCA. And now, does this course give you the basic instruction to actually learn to carry your gun, or just to learn to fire and use one initially?
Learn to fire a pistol is the 4-hour class.
Okay.
They do also have a class that is a concealed carry class.
Now, is that one offered at the Georgia Gun Club?
We also have a concealed carry class, yes, at Georgia Gun Club. And I believe that's about a 4-hour class. And it is not a shooting class. It's a class more about concealed carry law, what you can do, what you can't do. And then also just answer, questions such as what sort of holster, what pistols are best.
What position should I carry in?
Exactly. So we offer that at Georgia Gun Club.
Now, these are probably specific for Georgia law, I would imagine, since you're in
Yes.
Georgia. Okay, so other states, of course, if you're in other states, we have other laws or other classes. But I imagine that the USCCA classes are offered in most all states?
They're getting there. Because they're not as well known as the NRA. So sometimes they're a little bit harder to find. My class, I just have a Facebook page set up, and that's basically.
Oh, and people can find you on Facebook.
They can find me on Facebook.
Now, what's the Facebook page name?
The page name is Basic Firearm Training for Women.
Okay, that's easy enough.
Or you can find me, Shannon Pable, on Facebook, and I can steer you in the
direction of the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. So that'd be a good way for someone who's never handled a firearm to get started, to learn how to do something. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, would you say that training is probably one of the most important things after picking out a weapon to use?
It doesn't really even necessarily have to be after.
Right. You can get one before. But once you purchase one, I've heard so many stories where The guy says, "Oh yeah, I've had this sitting in my nightstand drawer,"
yeah.
and they have it still in the box it was purchased in.
Yeah.
No holster. The magazines may or may not be loaded. There may be a box of ammo in the box with the pistol, and that's their home defense system.
Yeah, exactly. And I have seen that. And one person even came walking in where they kept it stored in the trunk of their car for years and years and years. And yeah, I wouldn't even want to shoot that.
Not without cleaning and inspecting.
Yeah,
it
I would definitely
first.
take it to a legitimate gunsmith and have them look at it and go through it and clean it. And
Right, especially if it's showing any sign of rust or corrosion or any kind of dirt buildup or anything like that.
Definitely. But training is so important, and I see so many people invest so much money in their firearms and nothing in training, and that the training is so important.
Or even in just time using them.
Yeah.
I've had friends who have 50 firearms and they spend maybe once a year shooting a few of them, and that's as much use as they get.
They sure are pretty to look at.
Yeah, well, some people just collect things and never use them.
Yeah.
There are guys who have cars they never drive.
Yeah, not me. No, I
want to go shoot as soon as I buy it, I want to shoot it.
Exactly.
Except for then I realize I have to clean it afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Well, once you do it, I mean, it's really not that difficult.
I know. It's not difficult, but when you take out, you go, oh, I'm going to take these 6 guns with me. And then you go, then I got to clean 6 guns when I'm finished.
Yeah. Break it up a few nights, but yeah.
Spread it out, yeah. Now, do you clean weapons every time after firing them?
Not always. If I'm just going to shoot, 50, maybe 100 rounds, I may not, unless it's a 22.
Right, they tend to be a little dirtier.
Yeah, a 22, like my Smith & Wesson Victory, yeah, I clean that all the time just to make sure, because it's so finicky. But other, firearms, I may wait until I have 300-400 rounds through it. But then again, if I'm also shooting a competition, I'm going to make sure it's nice and clean.
Clean before you go, right?
Yeah, and then I'm going to test fire it a couple times right after I clean it to make sure. Yeah.
Now, I've heard I don't know if you know much about this, but I've heard rifle shooters don't clean their guns every time. In fact, they wait as long as possible because the gun shoots the same as long as they keep shooting the same rounds through it, and then they'll clean it only when it starts to vary a little bit or when they've got several hundred rounds through it.
Yeah, I don't know. But
That's just precision rifle shooters that told me that, and I say, it doesn't seem right. You're supposed to clean it every time.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay, we'll have to get somebody who knows.
We'll have to get it. Yeah, Harold would
Maybe
be.
Harold would know.
Yeah,
Harold would know. He's the precision rifle guy.
Yeah, I know if it's a 22 rifle, I'm cleaning it.
Right. Every 22s always get cleaned every time, unless you just fire 10 rounds through them. Then they might wait, but you still want to oil them a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So. Okay, well, that's fascinating. I just love the fact that, so many people invest all this money in guns and won't spend an ounce of training. Or they have, all these guns, they have, 1 box of ammo for them. And you're like, how are you, have you ever seen a zombie movie?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
1 box of ammo is not going to get you very far.
That's not. I know, just my everyday, what I'm throwing in the front seat of my car is usually
more than that.
500 rounds. I just got a case in. Yeah, let's throw that in the front seat.
Throw it in the trunk because you never know when I'm going to stop and shoot something. Now you probably get to shoot at work a lot, though.
I do. Probably not as much as people think, but I do.
Because you're working.
Yeah, and, but usually on break, sometimes I'll go out there and shoot 20, 30 minutes. So
okay, so you get some practice.
Yeah.
Now let's say, someone's taking their basic pistol class, they're feeling pretty confident, they've purchased a holster. Then what would be another class to take after that to get them into actually using a weapon, to be able to draw, to be able to fire? And is there anything they should know about what type of class to take or what they should expect from a second level class? What should they expect to learn?
I would usually, once they feel comfortable and they've used their firearm, went to the range, the indoor range, then probably, if it's a class where they're looking to learn how to use their concealed carry pistol, then I would do a defensive pistol class. We have one at Georgia Gun Club. I will say there's almost just a little step that you need, I think, between the basic pistol and then going into the defensive pistol.
Just maybe actually using your weapon a little bit on your own.
Definitely get some range time, but feel comfortable drawing from the holster. So maybe that's something where you do a one-on-one with someone. But we also have something called our Outlaw League.
I am familiar with that.
Yeah, I know. You shot with me there before,
several times. Yes,
yeah,
I do enjoy that,
yeah.
that competition or that event, let's call it, because it's not really a competition.
It's not, but it's fun. It does involve moving and shooting. Usually involves drawing from the holster. However, those folks that don't feel proficient yet drawing from the holster,
they don't have to, right?
They don't have to. We can set your gun up in a bag, set it up on a barrel so you can start at a low ready position. But that's a great way of getting used to maybe doing a little bit of moving and shooting and getting your feet wet in that area.
Right. Now, I would think someone would pretty much they should probably know how to draw a weapon before jumping into something like that, unless they have an easier event scheduled where you don't have to do that or they don't require it. Like, say you don't have to, but you're going to see everybody doing it and you're going to want to try. But if you haven't done it before, it's not something you want to learn while you're out at the range at an event like that.
Exactly. And I do have several folks listed, and I don't know, maybe we can go over this later on. But as far as folks that I've taken training classes with who can work with you on just getting very proficient at drawing from the holster, feeling comfortable. And then, then maybe you're ready to move on to something a little more advanced.
Like the John Wick class?
The John Wick class, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's everybody wants to be John Wick, I'm sure. After the first class, they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go kill some bad guys.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to be back in just a minute. We've got to take our next break. This is Locked and Loaded, and you're listening to America's Web Radio. This is Shannon Pable, our special guest today, and I am Roger B. We'll be back momentarily.
45 years of experience is behind their most trusted name in auto transportation. Passport Transport, the first and finest today. That's why Passport Transport is the preferred auto transport for larger auto manufacturers, concours, museums, tours, and collectors, and should be your choice from across the state to across the country. When you have the need, go to PassportTransport.com and enjoy the peace of mind referenced experience will give you. Passport Transport.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, you need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Ronaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
Quick Steaks, that's QUIK steaks, are not just for surveyors. They are great for family and community gardens. Go online to www.quicksteak.com or contact your local land surveying supply dealer and get you a box of Quick Steaks. You'll love them every year when you plant your garden. Again, that's Quick Steaks, QUIK steaks, the truly preferred way to stake and identify what's in your garden now.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome back. This is America's Web Radio. I am Roger B. and you're listening to Locked and Loaded. And today we have our special guest, Shannon Pable, and she is a local expert. I'm going to call her that because she has more training than anybody I know. Well, almost. There are a few guys who are a little more discreet, don't want me to mention their names on the radio. But we were just talking about carrying your weapon, and there was mention as to how do you know what state? What if you travel? What if you're driving your car? Where can you carry it? Where can you not carry it? If you go through all the classes, get your permit. Although in Georgia, you're not required to have any classes to get a permit. You can just go, and say, here, I have a driver's license, give me a permit, and that's all you need. Mm-hmm. Highly not recommended. Not at all. Get some training, learn how to use it.
Definitely.
But there is a site, if I remember correctly, called packing.org. And packing.org, you can click on your state, and it will show you which states, they'll light up the other states that have reciprocity with your permit. So that way you can decide where it's legal, where it's not. And Shannon, you were mentioning you were looking at a map the other day with the percentages of people who carry versus number of murders in the state.
Mm-hmm. Gun-related deaths, and there were two separate maps, and they were sort of photo opposites of each other.
That's what, California, I believe they have like a 0.27% of the population has carry permits. And I'm sure their murder rate is fairly high because they have a lot of gang violence. They're a sanctuary city, and they have various other things not going in their favor to keep people there safe. And let's not even mention California, where you can catch diseases just walking around in the streets of San Francisco.
Yeah, it's so sad. That was my favorite city.
Yeah, parts of it are probably still nice, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, in comparison, so California has about a 0.27% of the population with carry permits. And then in Texas, it's 4.9% of the population has carry permits. So you can see the difference in the number of people that would carry if they were allowed to. But California, again, let's jump into this real quick because I had this story. So this past week in California at the Gilroy Garlic Festival.
And I've been to the Garlic Festival because I was born and raised just an hour away from there.
Wow. Okay. So you're a local, so you know what this festival is probably about. Just people, families having fun, having a good time.
Fun. Yeah.
And apparently, some really angry 19-year-old decided he was going to act out and be violent and make a name for himself or whatever. But we're not going to mention his name. But this guy, we'll say he's a guy. That's all I'm going to tell you. And you're wondering, how did he get this weapon in there? Well, let me tell you. He cut into a fence, broke into the festival because they had checkpoints all around the festival where they had screenings to where people couldn't get in. They had signs everywhere, so this was a gun-free zone, which is where over 90% of all mass shootings take place, in gun-free zones. He had a weapon that he legally purchased in another state, then illegally brought it into California. So, and he went past all the signs, broke into the fence, and you're wondering, it's the gun's fault. This guy would have found a way to get whatever he wanted, do whatever he was going to do, regardless of any laws. They say criminals don't obey laws. That's why they're criminals.
Yep. Sad but true.
Now, I have to say, the police in California, they got to him within a minute or so of him starting to shoot, and they took care of things. But I just wonder if it would have been even less if he had brandished a weapon and people in the state of California had a 5% carry ratio and they were able to stop him, if he could have prevented the entire thing.
Yeah.
I personally believe an armed society is a polite society.
Yeah, especially if they were caring and had a good education.
That's right. We're
good
back to the training.
Back to the training.
Training.
Get that adrenaline going.
It's like with real estate, but here we're going to say training. Okay, so let's get back to that for a minute, because now we've determined that once you learn to draw from a holster, there are a lot of local events you can participate in. And always when you're in an event, or let's call it even a competition, even if there's no prizes or places awarded, you're still going to be competing against yourself.
Yes.
You want to better your time. You want to get better.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that adrenaline going because you're doing something around other people. You're not sitting in your living room, pretending to shoot the TV.
Yeah. And then you got that beep, beep.
That's right. Yeah. And those of you who've done it before, that beep means go. Go.
Go lose your mind. No,
that's right.
But that's what happens.
Yeah, because some people freak out. Some people drop. I've seen guys drop magazines on their firing line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to say, even saw a guy shoot himself on the firing line.
Oh. Yeah.
That was scary. He was right in front of me, he was reholstering a weapon, and the gun went off because he had his finger in the trigger guard while he was reholstering. That's why learning to draw from a holster and reholstering are such important skills.
Yeah. The gunfight is over. Take your time on reholstering.
That's right. In fact, a lot of training places will tell you, break your concentration, look both ways, look up and down, something to break your tunnel vision and refocus on your task at hand and not get too sucked into the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And most good trainers will teach you, keep your finger off the trigger till you're up on target, ready to shoot. Okay, so you've got this, you've gone through your basic pistol class, you've gone through your carry class, so now you know how to draw from a holster, you know about the laws involved. Then where would someone go for training beyond that if they want to get to the John Wick stage? Where do they go from there? I just like bringing him up.
Well, actually, I'm going to step back just a little bit because really between the basic pistol and a concealed carry class, you really aren't learning yet how to draw from a holster. You're really not learning how to move and shoot. But I do have a listing of some folks who are great at teaching that.
Okay, well,
So-
let's just mention a few of those people if you want.
So, first off, every Sunday at Georgia Gun Club, and we have Doug Jones and the Georgia Shooters, they're independent of Georgia Gun Club.
They just rent the space there.
They rent the space out every Sunday. They have 6 hours of shooting, and you get a lot of personal attention. Folks that are still, sort of learning how to draw from the holster.
Now, how many people are generally in these classes?
I would say maybe 8, 10, 12. It might vary.
Depending on the week, right?
Depending upon the week. But that is, he would be a great place to start. Another one would be some folks, Brian and Shelley Hill, with The Complete Combatant.
That sounds good.
They do a variety of classes, but he does some basic pistol classes, and then he does a beyond basic pistol class. So pretty much he could step you through all those different stages. He also does a great 1.5 day sort of a force-on-force training class where they get your adrenaline up. You learn everything from start to finish when you have an actual attacker come,
armed opponent come,
but we're using
safe
fake
paintballs,
guns,
fake
inert
bullets,
guns. But they take you through everything as far as first aid, calling 911, what you do and don't say on that call, and what happens when the police officers come. But that's their 1.5 day class. But they have so many different classes, so I would definitely check out the Complete Combatant as well.
Now, do they have a Facebook page or a website, or do you know?
If you Google search the Complete Combatant, you will find them. And First Person Safety with Lee Weems. He's out in Oconee. Chief Deputy Sheriff Lee Weems does some excellent classes, all sorts of classes, all different levels. I can't say enough good things about him. And if you also looked up the training between the Complete Combatant, the Georgia Shooters, First Person Safety, top notch, Rainmaster certified. These guys, they're training.
They've had lots of training, and they're willing to pass on their knowledge to you if you're willing to take the time to learn.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, of course, our friend Harold Lanier with Creedmoor Training Academy.
Yes, I've been to his facility. Very
Skill
nice.
Builder series that he does, Skill Builder Pistol and Skill Builder with Carbine. And then he also does, I think, a basic day-long pistol.
Well, he's got lots of different classes.
He's got a lot of different classes.
Different things. He does shotgun, carbine, almost everything.
Yeah.
Any kind of weapon you want to learn how to use, he can at least get you started.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things you want to do once you get your pistol or rifle or shotgun, or even all three of them.
Yeah.
You can do, they have the latest thing now is shooting 3-gun competitions.
Yep.
Now, have you done any of those?
I have. I've done some 3-gun, just a little bit, kind of gotten my feet wet in that. I've done 2-gun, done pistol, done rifle.
A little bit, yeah. So you've competed in every different aspect of this.
Just having fun and trying out new things and figuring out what I really enjoy.
And you basically just really got heavy into this 4 years ago.
Yes.
So this is great. So this is how far you can go in a short time if you really put the time in.
Yeah, and really it's been, as far as participating in matches, probably less than 3 years.
Okay.
As far as, going out in IDPA, USPSA. And
now did you find yourself intimidated when you got started with that, the first couple that you were getting into, where you were a little bit nervous, or did you feel well enough trained to where you were watching other people and go, I can do that better?
Yeah. Not really I can do that better, but I think I can do that.
I
think I can do that. I can do that safely. Well, I have to give a shout out to my friend Karen Whitlock over at Trigger Time. And I remember a few years back when I wanted to do my first IDPA match, she kind of set up a little mini stage in the range on a day that they were closed. and probably 5 of us ladies went out there, and she sort of walked us through it and let us do like a little mini stage.
So you had a little bit
learn
of slow and easy, not just being thrown in with that beeper going on.
Right. So that was pretty cool. And so then when I went out there was a few women. We signed up on the same squad, and that was pretty neat. But before that, it was. Remember Dead Center when they would have the still matches?
In fact, yes. In fact, I know Van over there is starting up the skill builder classes again.
Yes, I just saw that on Facebook too, and but that was probably my first match. If doing this.
Oh, was it? Okay, I remember you doing those. Yes.
Yeah. So
I think that's where I met you.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and so I just had a blast doing that. I love shooting steel, and I have to say that's still is my favorite.
I know. And like I say, and I have to say to Van over there at Dead Center, learning from him is like having Deadpool as your instructor.
Yeah.
Little sarcastic, a little bit of smart assedness. I mean, but highly entertaining and very effective.
Yeah, he and Harold were 2 of my very first instructors.
Yes. Now, I've learned from a few different people, but those I have to say those 2 guys are probably still 2 of my favorites when they're available. But, Harold does it all the time. Van, not as much anymore, but if you get a chance to learn from him, he was very good.
Yeah, they're both a wealth of knowledge.
And there was another guy I learned from. He was actually a Navy Special Ops instructor, ran us through that course basically, not at the Navy, of course. He was training at another range, and he was running us through these scenarios, or I guess these skill sessions where you had to draw, fire 2 rounds within 1.5 seconds, things like this. Mm-hmm. And you went through each stage until you got to the end. Now, normally, if you're doing this for the Navy, you don't get 2 and 3, 4 chances to do it. But here, because we were doing it, as a skill class,
right,
he was letting us do it several times and then instructing along the way to see how to build that speed to get those shots in within that amount of time. So that was kind of fun, too.
Right.
And you realize if these guys can do this all in the first time, every time, they're very highly qualified.
Exactly.
So let's see. So we had Harold. Now Harold does everything. Now, so you've taken your basic pistol class. Mm-hmm. You've got some training. You know how to draw from a holster. You've taken an hour or 2 with a private instructor, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Then you say, so any of these other people would be good for going beyond that.
Oh, and a lot of them you could even do the basic stuff with, beginner stuff with too.
Oh, okay. So they could start you from beginning to end.
Yep.
That way you'd feel comfortable staying with one instructor. You get used to somebody who understands what you're looking for, and they can work with you throughout. Yeah. That's always good to keep consistency, I guess.
Yeah, but I can also see where it's good to mix it up, because every time I have a different instructor, I learn something new or something else stands out.
Everybody
or they
has a different way of doing it.
Yeah, they might just do something slightly different, and that slight difference might work better for me, or it may not. So it's good to, I think, get a variety of instructors, but maybe if you're trying to fine-tune a skill, then sometimes it's best to stay with somebody just because they kind of know, okay, this is exactly what we need to work on with you.
Right.
But I'm talking, maybe at a much higher skill level.
Right, and at that point you want to get instruction from as many people as possible. You don't want to limit yourself, because like I say, everybody has a little different style. Everybody teaches things slightly differently. Everybody has their preferences as to the way you should do things. Learn them all. You can never have too many tools in the toolbox.
Exactly. I learn something every time, even if I'm retaking a class for the second, third time. So I was like, really, you're going to take this again? Yeah, because, I always learn something.
It's like watching a movie over and over again. You hear something new every time you see it.
Exactly.
I love doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be right back. This is Locked and Loaded. You're listening to America's Web Radio.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
Your auto love and investment demands the best, and for 45 years, Passport Transport has been meeting those demands. From manufacturers to the one-car collectors and all other facets of the auto industry and antique auto hobby. The first and the finest with unequaled service and peace of mind. Passport Transport, your auto transportation company. Contact PassportTransport.com with your need today. Passport Transport.
You're listening to America's Web Radio and the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome back. I am Roger B. You're listening to Locked and Loaded on America's Web Radio, and I am here with my special guest, Shannon Pable.
Hello.
She's an expert, in my opinion at least. She's been shooting seriously for probably, 3 years in competitions or events?
Yeah.
And even if it's not a competition, a lot of these places have, you compete, but you're not winning anything other than a pat on the back, an atta girl, an atta boy, and that's it.
A T-shirt, a hat, and I have won some cash.
Oh, there are. I know there are ranges that do that.
I like that.
Was competing in a bowling pin competition. They used to give out prizes, whatever extra swag they had laying around, they'd throw out there, and whoever wins first, second, third, fourth, fifth place gets to go up and pick their item from the items.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. You never know or they may just have extra swag they give away to some of the participants.
Yeah, I know at the Outlaw League we have crossbreed holsters.
That's right. I'm wearing mine right now, actually.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, you won one.
I did win one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep,
awesome.
That was fun. And I won by default because it's not a matter of if you win. You just have to show up.
Yeah.
You show up, they draw your name out of a hat. If you haven't won one in that year, then you can win one.
Yep.
And I was there once. There were 4 people there. Everybody else had already won. I automatically won.
Yeah.
So that's the Outlaw League is a lot of fun. They have all kinds of varied events there. And don't feel intimidated because there are people of all skill levels there.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, they have a 3-gun outlaw coming up.
I know. I saw that. And I'm tempted to try and prepare for that.
Yeah. So
isn't that it's coming up Saturday, I think?
Yep.
Okay.
Coming up at Saturday, I think 4 to 7.
Yeah, so if you guys want to get out there and get your John Wick on, now's the time.
And then we also have the shoot house that
the Friday before.
If you want to get warmed up, you could do the shoot house. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a different scenario, obviously, for the shoot house.
Right, they don't want you to cheat. You don't want to game the system.
Yeah, but just to do some moving and shooting and get warmed up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a awesome event there. I've been to that many times, and it's great to get started because, like I say, all skill levels are accepted, and you can watch other people too. Watching other people shoot is a way to learn a lot about what you could be doing wrong or could be doing right.
Right, and that actually goes back to the Georgia Shooters group that shoots on Sundays when they run, 8-10 people through, and you learn a lot by watching others.
Yeah, you see the guy who seems like he knows what he's doing and is the fastest guy on the times and he's hitting everything. You want to watch him and follow his example or her example.
Yeah, and sometimes the guy that is shooting really fast, he's not shooting anything.
Yeah, you got to be able to hit what you're shooting at.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, a hit with a 22 is better than a miss with a 45.
Yeah, definitely.
So you got to watch out for that. Pay attention, accuracy above all, because also when you're out there in the real world, you got to remember every bullet you fire has a lawyer attached to it.
Yep.
So be extremely cautious.
That's your mark.
Take a class for that because you got to know when you can and when you can't shoot and what you're going to be responsible for afterwards. Always an issue. Now, are there any classes that would teach you just strictly legal aspects?
Yeah, the concealed carry classes. And actually, U.S. Law and Shield, we just had a free seminar going on Sunday.
Oh, and this past Sunday?
Yeah, I think it was about 4 hours. And so U.S. Law and Shield does a great seminar. You can Google them, find them online. And again, we have a concealed carry class. A lot of ranges around have concealed carry classes.
Right.
Which
Most
might
offer
be,
some sort of training. If they have a range, they try and offer training.
Right, and it might be a 2 to 4 hour class. Also, my friend Lee Weems, that I had mentioned earlier, does a great class on the law, and it's called Standing Your Ground. And
Right,
excellent class, and he has firsthand experience in it too.
Oh, wow.
Since he is law enforcement,
Right, because he has to know exactly when he's allowed to shoot and when he can't.
Yeah, but he's got so much training behind him too. So-
Yeah, it makes a difference. But actually being out there in the field makes a difference too. So anybody
Yeah.
who has former or law enforcement training, even military training, is something that if you have guys who are special operators, they know a lot about when you can and can't shoot, and when you're, what you have to be careful of, what pitfalls to avoid, things like that. Mm-hmm. And then you learn all that. And now when you do these outlaw leagues and various events where they have shoot rooms or shoot houses, that's where you start learning your more, I guess to say, more extensive skills, pieing the room, entry, how to exit, what to do with your weapon when you're sticking it out in front of you and you walk through a doorway.
Yeah, shooting around corners. Shooting out of a car.
Right, shooting through a windshield. I did that one.
Shooting through a windshield. They're usually, I don't think you're standing your ground if you're shooting through your windshield.
If there's a guy in front of you, you pull into your driveway, there's a guy in front of you leveling a shotgun at you, you're going to shoot through your windshield.
Yeah.
That was the way they pointed out
Okay.
the scenario to us. You're pulling into
Okay.
your driveway, there's a guy standing there with a shotgun, he's leveling, he goes to point it at you, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Whatever I can do quicker, reverse or
Right, exactly.
or draw my firearm.
That's right. Or you
Yeah.
could already have the car in park, have it turned off, and then all of a sudden you see the
True.
guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did some of that. I don't know if you ever did that. Shoot through the windshield business. Did you do some of that?
Yeah. Skip J Range.
Oh,
had
we were
some
doing
old
this at
cars
Dead
there.
Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Van found a guy who was providing free windshields.
So you had just the windshields. I gotcha.
He built a rack, and we sat in a chair behind a table with the
Okay.
windshield in front of you, and we did it both ways.
Okay.
Shooting from the inside and then shooting from the outside. Some guy's trying to run you down or chase you with a car.
Yeah.
You shoot through the
And
windshield.
did you notice how the angle of the bullet changed depending
We
upon the angle of the
actually
glass?
discussed that based on whether you're inside or outside the car. Yes.
about where the bullet goes.
That's
because,
right.
Yeah, it's going to exit, I believe, at a perpendicular angle to the glass.
It will tilt some. Yeah, we noticed that
Yeah.
shooting from the inside, I think it tended
That's what
to
it's
go
going
a little.
want to tend to do. Yeah.
Right, and
yeah.
if shooting from the outside, it tended to go. Actually, shooting from the outside tended to go lower, and shooting from the inside tended to go up
Higher.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And he let us shoot. He recommended we try our defense ammo, so you
Yeah,
can see
good,
if it breaks
good.
apart, if it comes into pieces, if it
Yeah.
maintains a
what
solid.
happens when it shoots the windshield?
Yeah, does it come apart?
Yeah.
Does it hit your target? And it
Yeah.
was amazing to see some of the differences.
Oh,
One
yeah.
thing I have to admit I saw, the 45s tended to go through windshields much better than the smaller calibers did.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
yeah, I bet.
bigger piece of lead just tends to hold up better through
Yeah,
that. And it made a
interesting.
huge difference. Yeah, because
Interesting.
that's like real world experience
Yeah.
you're getting to fire through the
Yeah,
windshield.
because we didn't actually have the windshield in it. We got to shoot through the car, but not through an actual windshield.
Oh, no, here, you're actually
so
shooting
that
through the windshield.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
And then later on, I think he had one set up all the way down range, and you're shooting about 15 to 20 yards away. But the ones we were shooting were sitting, like, literally the windshield's right in front of you.
Wow.
So
Okay.
everybody had to have, full wrap safety glasses, have a hat on with a bill on
Oh,
it to
yeah.
keep glass from falling all over the place.
Yeah.
And it made a lot less mess than I thought it was going to make.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little bit of powdered glass because the front windshields are full safety glass.
Right.
And they don't shatter. They're laminated, so they don't shatter like a side window would.
Okay, interesting.
A side window shatters into 1,000 pieces, and you
Right.
end up, if you ever had your car broken into, that stuff takes years to get every little bit of glass out of there.
Oh, yeah.
But the
Wow.
windshield just powders a little bit and leaves a hole.
Interesting. In fact, when you were talking about wearing the hat, that's something that comes to mind. I can't emphasize enough for people to wear a hat, a ball cap, in the range while they're shooting. Just, it's a little bit of extra protection. I've seen people get ricochets in the forehead, and if they're wearing a hat, they wouldn't
Might have
had-
prevented that,
Might have
yes.
prevented that. Hot brass landed on your head, but also just to keep lead off you. People
Right.
don't realize.
Especially when you're shooting steel.
Yeah, exactly.
As you well know,
exactly.
shooting that indoors. Oof.
Yeah. High necklines, hats, closed-toe shoes. I always wear pants.
Right.
And if it's, and if it's
I always
winter.
the low neckline. I can't tell you how many times I tell people you need to change before you shoot because you're wearing a low neckline. You're going to get hot brass down there and have to do the hot brass dance.
Oh yeah, and especially if you're shooting 22s. 22s are
Well, all
notorious
over
for
the
fun
place.
in every single little possible place it can go.
Yeah, had one
So-
guy had a shell fall between his face and his glasses.
Yes,
That
I've
was-
seen that. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing, that having a brim on your hat will help
Prevent a lot of that.
Yeah.
Now I do tell people if they're learning, if I take somebody to teach them to shoot, I tell them, okay, you may get a piece of brass up somewhere. It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Before anything, put the gun
down.
then do the hot
Put
brass
the gun
dance.
down.
Then dance.
Yeah.
Do not dance with the gun in hand.
I always warn folks. Yeah. It's just because I don't want them to be surprised. I don't want the element of surprise of what's
Right.
that hot thing on me.
Warn them that can
Yeah.
happen, and it makes a huge difference. And
Yeah.
most people, once they have it happen a time or two, they shake it off. They grab a shirt, shake it, and it's done.
Yeah. Exactly.
'Cause it's not going to kill you. But
Yeah.
waving the gun around, shooting somebody by accident, that would cause more problems.
Yes. Put the gun down. Yeah.
Rule number 1. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I like. Yes. Now, when you instruct people, do you teach them how to pick a weapon, or do you use the rental method to let them try a bunch of different things?
Both. And this is something where I see this a lot at the range, where the boyfriend or the husband comes in and they, want to buy the gun, for the spouse, and the spouse isn't there. Or the spouse comes in and she says, well, my husband bought me this gun, but I don't like it. It's too big for my hands. So always let whoever is going to be shooting
Choose
the
what
gun
they wanna shoot.
to choose it. And the other thing, too, that when someone comes in and they said, well, I want to carry a gun, and I'll usually tell them, just let's try out a few other guns first before we go straight to the carry. Maybe we talk about home protection first.
Shoot a few things first.
And work to that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. We've had a good time talking about guns and training today on Locked and Loaded. I want to thank my special guest, Shannon Pable, for being on. And this is Locked and Loaded. You're listening to America's Web Radio, and I am Roger B.
Perhaps you are struggling